As we leave Guthrie Castle to initiate the next in my series of confessions of the $50 billion man, it's I believe the 12th of February. We just completed the February Castle Seminar, which is the first of this year entire seminar, though the hardcore seminar ended on the 3rd. To say that the hardcore seminar was a overwhelming success would be an understatement of biblical or Quran proportion. I'll get back to the Quran in a minute, but it went very, very well. In fact, we already have a few people that want to attend the next hardcore that just attended this hardcore. And one of the features of the hardcore, other than the case studies, and we broke them up into groups, the last day was a live case study with a mentee on the webinar while we were making corrections in his plans live, and he actually fired his CFO and his financial advisor while we were on the call, and so that made for a little bit, not a little bit, but quite a bit of excitement, and the kids really got a lot out of that, so it went very, very well, and it's given me some ideas how to make some additions to the regular seminar and to improve the next hardcore, which we've just announced the date. I believe it's the 15th, or no, the 13th through the 21st of October this year, the next hardcore. Now, the regular seminar that just ended a few days ago, we had a full house, had 24 people, and it was also an overwhelming success. And I had mentioned the Quran a couple of minutes ago, and during the seminar, although we had a couple of Muslims, which is about par for the course, and during the seminar, somebody gave me a copy of the Quran during the seminar, and it wasn't one of our Muslim attendees, which made for some humor. And when I asked for volunteers to read the Quran during the seminar, we didn't get any volunteers, which doesn't mean anything, neither here nor there. But the seminar went exceedingly well, and we've already got a couple people from the regular seminar that want to attend the hardcore seminar, and it was a success. It seems that I know people keep telling me I'm at the top of my game. Well, I understand that, but it seems like every seminar seems to get better. So we appreciate the accolades about me being at the top of my game, but by the same token, you have no idea, and I made a post on LinkedIn and social media a few days ago, you have no idea the work ethic and the amount of work and practice I do for every seminar, even though I could give all these seminars, including the hardcore, in a coma, because basically we're reiterating things that I've been doing for almost 50 years and have been doing with the mentees for more than 20 years now. So the seminar continues to get better, and I will continue to push the edges of the envelope until, as long as I keep giving seminars, which I have no intention of stopping anytime soon. As we drive here through Angus, Scotland, on the way to the airport, the last few days, I reflect on the last few days the economy, as reflected by or in the stock market indices, has continued to go down. Oil touched in the mid-20s the last few days. The Dow Jones seems to be either down 200 or 300 or up 100 the last few weeks. Gold has rallied a little, and the market seems to be saying that the world economy is in turmoil, that there's an industrial slowdown, which shouldn't be news to anybody, and that China has been in a slowdown for some time. And this isn't news to anybody. I mean, as I've commented before, that China has been the marginal purchaser of goods and for probably the last 10 or 15 years. So what that means is they're buying the stuff that, the excess stuff that the regular free world, Western world has not been buying. And if there is a slowdown in consumption, ergo, that means that the economies worldwide are going to slow down. In addition to that, their stock market has been manipulated by the government, and so we really don't know the true value of it. Notwithstanding, we never are sure, but the numbers that they post in their accounts and their audit financials, how true they are, for all the obvious reasons I don't need to go into. By the same token, the U.S. market is telling us, perhaps caused by the Chinese market, the Chinese economy, that there's a 50-50 chance that we're going to have a U.S. recession, if not a worldwide recession. And that's why the market has been so hard on the downside. The Federal Reserve Board, for the first time in 7 years approximately, inched interest rates up 25 basis points, which is a quarter of a point, and the market fucking collapsed after having basically free money for 8 years, free money. And I've said it countless times that the last 7 or 8 years we may not see again in my lifetime, where the money is free, and free meaning very low interest rates, and the Federal Reserve printing it like giving away coffee at Starbucks. Well, if 25 basis points makes the market collapse after 8 years of free money, it's telling us something, and it's telling us that the market's not as strong as we would hope. Although on the surface, we're still fairly strong in the U.S. economy, and it has not shown the weaknesses that the market is foretelling. And since the market is more or less a leading indicator, by 18 to as much as 24 months, smart money, the big money, is telling us that we're going to have a recession in America sooner than later. Whether that comes to fruition or not, only time will tell. What has come to fruition is my prediction from June, July of 2014 that we were going to see $40 oil and below $40 oil, and we've seen that in spades with the market sinking as low as to the mid-20s. As I said before, I didn't think that I'd live long enough to see that happen again, because I've seen this precipitous oil decline once before in the 80s, and when I came up with QLA, and I built quite a substantial, as they said in Texas back in the day, dynasty with Great Western Resources. The pundits now are saying that some say we're going to see oil below 20, Some say, a couple say that we're going to see oil at 10. I think even one pundit says that we're going to see oil below 10. I'm not sure about any of those prognostications, but I do say, having lived through this once before, it will go lower than we think, and it will stay lower than we think for longer than we think. There is a tremendous surplus of oil on the market, depending on who you want to listen to, between 1 and 2 million barrels a day, and that's not going to be easily absorbed. In addition to that, the average cost per barrel in the United States, depending again who you want to listen to, is anywhere from $40 to $70 a barrel for it to break even at the wellhead. I believe myself it's probably closer to 60, 70. So the producers have been losing money for some time now, probably a year, and how much longer can they hold on? We're seeing massive layoffs in the energy business. And again, I lived this when 10,000 energy companies went out of business when I grew Great Western from $800 to about $500 million. As I record this, in the last week or so, several of the big energy companies have been debating and actually announcing that they're either going to have to cut their dividend. Companies like ExxonMobil, etc., which have paid a dividend for decades and decades, or borrow money to pay dividends. Now, some of the companies can't, by statute, bylaws, borrow money to pay dividends. But what precedent does that set? And if they cut the dividend, many of the shares of the large energy companies are held in what used to be called trust fund or orphans and widows accounts, meaning they have to pay dividends or they can't be purchased by those big funds. Well, if they cut the dividend and they're in one of those funds, then that means the funds have to sell the shares. So if they sell the shares, there's going to be a massive onslaught of sell orders for tens of millions of shares of big energy companies. We've already seen other companies cut dividends, have massive layoffs, and because we're up here near Aberdeen, which is the oil center for Britain, we've seen big layoffs, construction come to a screaming halt, and of course, I guess we didn't learn anything from the 80s when this happened, because it took Aberdeen 10 or 15 years to recover. We have millions of barrels of oil in storage on high seas right now. People are paying high fees to keep the oil in tankers. How much longer they can do that, I don't know. Nobody seems to want to cut their production, and even if the Middle Eastern countries or the South American countries say they're going to cut the production, there's no way of us measuring it. And so far, to the best of my knowledge, every time the Middle East says they're going to cut production, it's all horseshit, and they don't. They just do that for effect. In addition, we now have Iran coming online with oil. Iraq's oil is starting to rejuvenate itself from being closed in for the last several years. Iran's cost of production is low. Iraq's cost of production is low. I mean, low vis-a-vis the United States. Depending on who you want to listen to, the average cost per barrel in the Middle East is $1 a barrel or less in the Saudi Arabia, or the Kingdom as it's called, to as much as maybe $2 or $3 or $4 a barrel for some of the other lesser producers. But you don't have to be Einstein to figure out that that's still significantly lower than the current middle 20s price. Whereas in the United States, the average cost, not counting fracking, used to be about $30 a barrel at the wellhead. and with fracking now it's significantly higher. And the Saudis have been wanting to once and for all put the frackers out of business. In addition, they have no love lost for the Russians, which their cost of production is significantly higher than the Middle East. So they got no real motivation to cut the production. So we'll see. But I predict that we're still in for a rough ride next year or two. Time will tell. But again, the QLA methodology was formulated based on starting with no money and having motivated sellers. Now, when these assets, not just energy assets, come on the market, we are going to have motivated sellers again. There's always motivated sellers, but I mean, we're going to have more motivated sellers because people are going to have to meet margin calls, people are going to have to meet bank demands, etc., etc. And having lived through that, I'm not cherishing thought for other people, although it's I'm not involved in that. On a brighter note, the kids, meaning my mentees, and I call everybody a kid because I'm either old enough to be their father or grandfather. Oh, and speaking of grandfather, I think I mentioned in the last reflections that my youngest son and his wife gave me a granddaughter on middle of January. So I'm my grandfather first time out. And I still haven't seen her, but Sally and I plan on seeing her sometime in the springtime. She's the first Pena child, born in 29 and a half years. My daughter Kelly being the last Pena to be born. So I guess every 30 years or so, one of my relations has a kid. And the part before this one, it was my three children. Okay, getting back to the kids are doing well. They've got many acquisitions on the boil. They have financing doesn't seem to have been a problem. I believe, or I know that with the onslaught of the rough economic times, the asking price for these assets, no matter what they are, A to Z, will be less, and there'll be a lot of motivated sellers. So I look forward to the kids doing a lot of deals in 2016. I'm on my way to the airport. Sally and I are going to spend a few days in London. By the time this is on the air, we will probably already be back from London. But to see a number of new people I've never met before. As you know, I see a lot of people when we travel, so I can keep my thumb on the pulse of what's going on out there. And we see people, or I see people from 17 to 67 or thereabouts. I'm also seeing a couple of my current business partners in London. We'll be down there 5 or 6 days, and then we'll return to Guthrie for a couple of weeks, and then Sally and I are off to a trip to the United States, where we're going to be taking a cruise from Miami through Central America, part of the Western Caribbean, and then back to Florida, and then on to Los Angeles for about a week, a lot of meetings, and then back from Los Angeles to the UK. Now, as I've said several times, my schedule is posted on my website several weeks in advance, and it amazes me that when you kids ask me for appointments, I mean, some of you ask me at the last minute, I mean, a day before I'm going to go on these trips. And by the time you ask me, I'm already fully booked. I'm normally fully booked, at least a couple of weeks before I go. But that's how you run your life. That's how you run your business, haphazardly, by the seat of your pants. So that's probably why you're not so successful. I would suggest that one of your resolutions for the new year is you do better time management. I found it again interesting that during the last seminar, which just ended about a week ago, we had a diverse group, probably a little more diverse than normal. We had a seminarian student, and we've had preachers before, priests, but as far as I know, it's the first seminary student we've ever had. When I called him a seminary student, he didn't especially like that. He said that he was a theology student. Now, I'm not sure there's much difference between the two, but he was a nice young man. We had people from, literally all over the planet, and with diverse backgrounds, educations, or the lack thereof, and certainly with substantially different business ideas. Although everybody's business idea morphed or pivoted, and when they left, after the week was over, they virtually all had a more refined business idea to pursue, following Pure methodology. Some even changed. By change, I call it pivot or morphed their idea to a completely different industry, i.e., from manufacturing to healthcare, and which also isn't unusual. The April seminar, which is upcoming, which is looking up quickly, will follow the new format for the seminar. And for the February kids, that was the first group to go through under the new format. And the new format is just more material, more accountability. That's really the bottom line. And the more accountability ongoing with the weekly reports and the Zoom calls. And a harder push for me to get stuff done quicker, because I know I'm doing a disservice to you if I don't push you harder. And that was part of my new 2016 resolutions and goals and resolutions, is that to push the kids harder to get them across the goal line sooner. And I can already see the results just in me pushing the old seminar attendees harder the last 4 or 5 weeks before this February seminar. I've been asked, how many seminars am I going to give in 2016? I'm really not sure. It still depends on demand. I assume that demand will be high. But at this juncture, the only seminars that are planned are April, 1st through the 8th, and the hardcore seminar, which is in October, which I mentioned a few minutes ago. If demand is great again, there'll be a seminar after April. Time will tell. Again, to answer a question that I've been asked again. Am I going to give seminars anyplace else, i.e. Australia, the United States? The answer is no. have no intention whatsoever to ever give seminars other than at Guthrie Castle. I mean, for a lot of obvious reasons, not the least of which is yesterday's dreams are today's realities, and that castle was my dream and it became my reality. So, I mean, it's a perfect metaphor for the castle. The only exception I've made is I gave Brian Rose from London Real a one-day seminar. It wasn't really a seminar, but a one-day outing at the Ritz about a year ago. And I plan on, in fact, next week, Brian has a new show, a TV show. It's called London TV. And I plan on being on this TV show this coming week. I don't know when it'll be aired, but I'll be on this TV show for a couple hours. And I look forward to it. And so he'll put it on London Live TV, I think it's called. Just London Live. But he's been doing that as of this year, and we wish him well, because he got us started vis-a-vis the social media, and I really didn't believe social media was that important for my own career. Speaking of careers, at this last seminar we had we actually had 4 veterans, 2 American veterans, 1 Marine and 1 Army, United States Army, and they were interviewed by me especially because I am pressing forward. The reality show thing has turned 180 degrees, and we're now looking towards doing a reality show that's a veteran reality show to help vets. And I'll have meetings in Los Angeles in March along those lines. And the other show formats we looked at carefully really didn't make sense for me and the legacy I want to leave. Although they might have been popular, I didn't feel they would be. So we're pushing forward. And we're enlisting the assistance of some very high-profile veterans that have been successful in business since the military careers ended. So I look forward to that, although nothing is in concrete yet, and we're still in what's called the storyboard phase. But it's so far the people that we've talked to seem to like it a lot, and I want very much for it to be a success. So for not just the obvious reason that I'm a veteran, but because I know it'll help a lot of the guys that seem to be having trouble. I did a veteran gig a few weeks ago, and it was a podcast, and I was stunned to be told and find out that 22 American U.S. vets commit suicide every day, and I was flabbergasted. I had no idea it was that high, and that the United States government is still struggling to keep up with the medical benefits, etc. So, if in any way this program and the sponsorship of this program helps in reducing that terrible figure, and helps encourage the United States government to do what they should be doing anyway, I'll be very happy. I'll be proud that I was associated with it. In addition, I continue to look at transactions, but again, I just want to tell everybody that's listening I only do deals with people that I personally train in the QLA system. And I only train people in the QLA system that come through the Castle Seminar. There are no exceptions. So for those of you that send me all these business plans, etc., I don't read them. I don't have time to read them. And even if I read them, unless you came to the Castle Seminar, I'm not interested. I have my plate full, so I just want you to understand that. Of course, I've said this for many times over the last few years. Apparently, you're not listening, or you don't want to listen. I understand that. I think that's all for now. I thank you for making my Reflections and Confessions podcast, along with Ask the $50 Billion Man podcast, and my other endeavors successful. And peace, and we'll be in touch.